Sultan Akhilkhon.
Sultan Akhilkhon. How you doing, mate?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm alright.
Living la vida loca?
We're getting into it again?
Yes, we are.
Alrighty. So today's episode, we said we want to do a translation for the common prayers that we say in our community. Just the basic ones. We don't want to go into anything too crazy.
Yeah.
But I think what we had in mind was the Tmasha and Ruaha, and maybe just a little bit of a discussion about baptism related things as well. But we see if we can get to that depending on how we're tracking for time.
Yeah.
Before we jump into it, I think some disclaimers that we've got to put out first. So first of all, these translations we're getting from the book by Lady Ethel Drower.
Yeah.
She's regarded as the most authoritative scholar in Mandaean studies.
Mm-hmm.
She did most of her writings on the Mandaeans in the early 1900s. She wrote a number of books about the Mandaeans and about different things, or different parts of our religion, but this book is regarded as her seminal work, aptly named The Mandaeans of Iraq and Iran. So in this book, she kind of runs through a whole heap of things and just gives a general overview of our religion. And in there are the translations for these prayers. Now, from what I have observed, I already can see that there's some parts of her translation that are incorrect, with my limited knowledge. So I guess the disclaimer is if there's anything incorrect in the translation, we apologize in advance.
Yeah.
But generally, overall, I have faith that this is quite accurate.
It's on the right.
Let's call it 80%, 90% accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we wanted to do. And then we also wanted to speak about some other observations that we found interesting in the book. I have just one or two that I thought would be interesting to discuss. And that's kind of, I think, the general overview for what we wanted to do.
Yeah, I guess it's our first dive into more of a religious aspect.
That's right. And we said that we wanted to do something a bit more religious.
Yeah, and a lot of people have asked for it. You know,
Yes.
and they've had some questions and whatnot
Yeah.
about different aspects, which we might touch on today. Or?
Absolutely. Oh, well, there are other aspects that we'll touch on
Yeah.
today, and then there's other aspects that we'll touch on in future episodes. For example, something that we've gotten commonly requested is, where did we come from? What is our origin story?
Yeah.
And I think that's just too long to kind of mesh in with this topic for this episode. That needs its own episode.
Yeah, it's not just that. The amount of research and digging that we've been doing for that episode,
Yeah.
the lead up to it,
That's right.
is quite significant.
That's right.
So there's a lot, man.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're taking time out of our day to make sure that we're preparing for the future episodes that you guys want to see, so that we're well informed when we come onto this this podcast. When we're on screen, we're as well informed as we can be.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't get everything right all the time.
Yeah.
And obviously, there will be people that complain from time to time that our details are incorrect. But welcome to being Mandaean, baby.
It's a work in progress.
What's new? I think, and then there's some other religious stuff that we wanted to talk about in this episode as well. But I think maybe this would be interesting to, I think, kind of dive into an attitude thing in our religion, which is that, how do I say? I think there's a bit of a weird dichotomy in our community where on one hand they encourage you and they say, yeah, go learn more about your faith, learn more about your community, do your research, and then when you come out and you say 90% of the stuff that's correct and 10% that's incorrect, they jump onto that 10% and say, anta ghalat, and it's like, okay, well, do you want to encourage me to learn about my community, or are you trying to shoot me down?
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting dynamic as well.
You know what? The amount of critique we got versus the amount of, hey, this is actually like this. It's
But we said that from the first episode.
Yeah, well, we knew we were going to get pushback and everything and
Yeah.
whatnot, but what I would love to see more in the future, and if there is anyone out there watching this, that if you do know more than us and we've said something that's incorrect and you can
Yeah.
tell us exactly the correct statement or the correct information, please do. We won't take that as a shot if you're trying to help out.
Reach out to us. And I think that kind of ties nicely into the first talking point of today, which is in reference to episode 1.
Yeah.
I gave a translation, which was actually incorrect.
Yeah.
So I'm here now to clear my name.
Yeah.
I got frazzled because it was episode 1. And we said Asuthe Nahwilchun. I said that Asuthe means purity and Zekuthe means victory / healing. That's incorrect.
Okay.
So Asuthe means healing, which comes from the root word asa, health. And Zekuthe is, to the best of my knowledge, is victory, coming from the same word as when they finish speaking something religious, they say Hey Zekken, which means life is victorious.
Okay.
Hey Zekken,
Yeah.
life is victorious. So the Zekken, Zekuthe, it's the same root word.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to come out and clarify that, because a big tenet of this podcast when we started is we said that we want to try and adhere to the facts and to the truth as closely as possible. It's not just about our opinion.
Yeah.
And if there is something that we make a mistake,
Which
we discussed this before we started the podcast.
Yeah.
We have to come out as soon as we've realized and correct it.
Yeah.
So my apologies in that regard, but I hope I've kind of cleared it up a little bit.
Yeah. Should be right.
In regards to the translations, I thought this was so interesting. I know that there's a lot of Mandaeans, me being one of them, but me not so much as others, that have said these prayers over and over and over and over, and we know the words, but we don't know what it means. So I think we'll start with, do you want to start with the sad one or you want to start with the happy one?
Let's start with a sad one,
Okay.
so that way we can cheer them up for the rest of the episode.
All right. So the sad one that we say often is Ruaha, which we read when someone passes away. What does it mean? Right? So it starts with Bishmehun ya Rabbi, like most prayers. Now, that phrase means in the name of the great life. Bishmehun, Ishim in Mandaean being the name.
Yeah.
Idhayi of Hayi,
Yeah.
Rabbi or Rabba meaning great. Not great as in like great as in large.
Yeah.
In our language. So Bishmehun ya Rabbi. Now, this specific phrase, there's actually something quite interesting about it, which is that I've had a religious person previously describe this to me as not referencing one individual, because Bishmehun is plural.
Yeah.
So technically you're saying in the names of the great life. And how that was explained to me at the time, I'm not sure if this is correct, but how it was explained to me at the time is that you're acknowledging He and all His creations, all His successive emanations, as we believe in our faith.
Okay.
So it's Bishmehun ya Rabbi,
Yeah.
in all the names of the great life.
And also, he goes by many names. So that's
Exactly.
also
Exactly.
another point.
So that's how it starts. Bishmehun ya Rabbi. Lofa warwahid hay ushaba qatayna huili.
Yeah.
Right? So, lofa being the first word. Lofa in our language means communion or coming together. So, lofa warwaha. Ruaha in our language means, it literally, according to the book, it literally means causing to breathe again. I.e. a re-life or a rebirth being life after death in Al-Madanhura.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Al-Madanhura is the Mandaic pronunciation of the world of light, which is, I guess you could call our
heaven.
equivalent of heaven, exactly. So they say, Lofa, communion, Warwaha Dhayi. So the communion and the re-life of Hayi.
Yeah.
Ushabak Hatayin Huili. And a forgiver of sins there be. Lhazan Nishintha, for this soul.
Yeah.
So شابق حطاي نهويلي لهذا النشمثة. شابق حطاي is the same word as the Arabic خطايا, sins. شابق حطاي نهويلي, a forgiver of sins for this soul. هذا النشمثة, for this nishimtha, and then at that point is where you say the nishimtha of the person who's passed away.
The Mulwasha.
Sorry, the milwasha. That's right. Because after the nishimtha leaves the body, after the individual has passed away, the only appropriate way to refer to that nishimtha is by the milwasha.
Yeah. Because they can't use the earth now.
Exactly. So you say the milwasha, هذا المسيختة, which is the مسيختة being the equivalent translation of like a death ceremony or death remembrance in our faith.
Yeah.
وشاب خطاينه ويلي, and may there be a forgiver of sins for him. So the primary parts that you can pick out of this is the Lofa Warwahad Hayi, the communion and rebirth of Hayi. Shaba Khatayna Huili, a forgiver of sins for this Nishimtha. You say the Milwasha. It has al Masiqtha, at this Masiqtha. Shaba Khatayna Huili, may there be a forgiver of sins for him/her.
Yeah.
So the overwhelming proportion of this particular prayer is centered upon the forgiveness of the sins for the nishimtha of the individual who's passed away. That's why this is most commonly said in the 40 days after the individual has passed away, because in our faith we believe that that's when they need the prayers the most, because we believe that it takes 40 days for the nishimtha to reach the world of light. So it's a 40-day journey. And
you know, I'd actually like to look into that and see why it's 40 days.
well,
That'd be
it's
quite interesting.
it's yeah. I'm not too sure,
There's probably something.
but I know that
somewhere
there's
tells us
a
bit
40-day kind of period there.
Yeah, yeah.
And another thing that I actually read in this book, which I found interesting, was Lady Drower makes the comparison between our faith and our surrounding, like the surrounding faiths in Iraq and Iran. And she says, unlike the surrounding faiths, it's a sin to cry when someone passes away, and it's a sin to pull your hair, as some faiths do apparently. I didn't even know this. They pull their hair out when someone passes away.
Is it not also a sin to go to the grave? Apparently, you're not supposed to visit the grave. I don't think it's probably not a sin.
It's not a sin,
but you're not supposed to.
I've heard it described as redundant.
Yeah.
We've got our version of Jamie here.
Yeah.
Go, which he knows his fair bit about religion. Go for it, Sam.
So it's part of the thing on the grave is
Yeah.
if you carry the casket as well, there's a nuzuliyah on you as well.
Right, but and I'm assuming that's because at that point in the body, it's just the body.
Yeah.
So there's the nishimtha is not. I think we need to explain another concept in our religion for this to make sense. So in our religion, we believe that every individual is made up of three components.
Yeah.
This is a very central tenet of our religion.
Yeah. Which also gets mixed up and misunderstood a lot.
Yes. The three components being, the first being the nishimtha.
Yeah.
English translation, the soul.
Yeah.
Arabic translation, nafs.
Yeah.
Then you have ruha, which Arabic translation, ruh, or the English translation, the spirit.
Yeah.
Then you have al-paghra, being the body.
Yeah.
Now, the nishimtha is a product of the world of light. Al-paghra, your physical body, is a product of the world of darkness, because all physical things are products of the world of darkness, save for a few things that our faith has designated as holy, like for example the water, tamar, dates, simsim, these holy foods, these are designated as holy foods. So these three components, you've got the soul, the spirit, and the body.
With spirit, my understanding was that is it consciousness?
Yes,
Okay.
that's not consciousness. I understood it as how I had it explained to me was it's the thinking mind.
Consciousness.
No, because consciousness means that you're aware of your own existence.
Which is a thinking mind.
No, so how I had it explained to me was,
Because anything can be alive. So when you say the soul,
Yeah.
anything, like most animals have a soul.
yeah,
Right? So, but
no. So
No?
how I had it explained to me was that animals have a spirit and a body, but no soul. So they have a spirit in that they can. No, they know what eat, move. They have a brain.
Yeah.
They can eat, they can move, they can walk around, they can do all that stuff. But they don't have a soul. They don't have an nishimtha in that they don't know what's right and what's wrong. They don't feel emotions like love, attachment, all these emotions.
Higher
So
being.
this is the nishimtha. Its role is it effectively gives the individual the ability to, one, know right from wrong, and two, experience what our faith believes are the most beautiful things in our faith.
okay.
So there's these three components. Now, to get back to how we got here, when you go and pray at the grave, it's a redundant exercise because all the nishimtha is gone. All you're praying or praying for in that location is what's next to you is just a product of the world of darkness, which is just the physical body. That's all that remains. There's no more light or holiness there anymore. That's gone. So in our faith, we say you don't have to go to the grave of the deceased to pray for the deceased. You can pray for them anywhere. In your car, in your room, because they're not attached to that physical body anymore.
Yeah.
So that's that part of, I guess that's a kind of a little bit of a deep dive into the prayer that we say, and also death and passing in our faith.
Yeah.
Now, if we jump on to the next one, which is the Tmasha, which is very commonly said. I guess to give an explanation of it before we jump into it.
Yeah. What's it used for?
Right.
When's it used?
I've understood it, again, Sam, feel free to pull me up on this. I've understood it as a quasi-baptism. The look that you're giving me, or like a mini baptism. How close am I to the mark on this one?
You mean like a prep for a baptism?
That's the Rishama.
That's the Rishon that you did before.
Which I've got. She's translated it in the book as well. We can run through that as well. So the Tmasha is to clean yourself or an object for ritual purity, and this is where you get into the concept of like nuzuliya and fachi nazil. Something's impure in our faith.
Yeah.
So in our faith, we have that if you are in contact with a particular object that's impure, or you do an act that is impure, that impurity can be imparted onto other objects. So now I have this cup. It was filled with chai before, not anymore, right? If I'm impure religiously and I touch the cup, now the cup has also become religiously impure. So if you, being previously religiously pure or religiously clean, were now to touch the cup, you would also, that religious impurity would also be imparted to you. It's transferable.
Unless it's like certain alloys.
Yes, exactly. So I believe metals. I'm not sure on this one. I think metals it doesn't transfer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on this one. Sam, if you know, correct me. But I know that there are certain materials that don't transfer this. So I think if you look at where this comes from, if you look back like 500, 600 years ago, if someone touches, for example, let's say urine or feces or blood, and then they touch something else, like they touch a cup, then someone else comes and drinks from the cup and they get sick, they realize that there's something that's being transferred here.
Yeah.
But obviously back in those times, they didn't know about bacteria and germs and hygiene and this and that. So the answer that they had was that this is religiously impure. There's an impurity that's being imparted from object to object.
Yeah.
Right? Now, how do you cleanse, or how do you go back to being religiously pure? Now, depending on the kind of impurity, you may have to do a higher level. You may have to go do a baptism or a certain number of baptisms. But this for the low level impurity, you do the Tmasha, which kind of fixes you up again. So, for example, a good example is if you touch meat that's not killed in the proper Mandaean way, that renders you religiously impure. You can go do Tmasha, and that kind of balances the account once again.
Yeah.
Right? So, what did
participating in a funeral, just because the last one was for the funeral.
Yes.
That would require a baptism. Yes, Sam?
If you carry the casket?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you participate in the burial ritual,
you need a
baptism.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, just one thing you referenced about people touching things more than 500 years ago and blah blah blah, but they knew it thousands of years ago, so it's pretty.
Yeah, like I mean, this has clearly come about by some sort of an observation.
Yeah.
Which is, I touch this object, it is dirty.
Yeah.
I touch the glass. My brother later drank from the glass and got very sick.
Yeah.
Something must have traveled from here to there.
Click.
Yeah. Right. And so the for this you have to have some sort of a running water. So a tap does the job. So again, it starts with Bishmayhund Hey Rabbi. We're back.
Yes.
Alrighty. We went off camera.
Mm-hmm.
We did some fact checking.
Yeah.
Now we're back. Okay. So.
Because we had one of the two facts. So one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And there was two pieces.
So So we're talking about the Tmasha.
Yeah.
Now the Tmasha itself is, you say, Ana Yom Lawasha. Let me read it so I'm not making any mistakes. Ana Yom Lawasha. مسويتا بمسويتا اتبهر مرابا بالروبي مسويتي تناطري وتسق للريش. That's the Tmasha. Now, for minor impurities, for example, touching laham that's not touching meat that's not killed the Mandaean way, you do the Tmasha just with your hands. So you put it under running water up to your elbows and you wash your hands. Now, for more serious defilements,
and that's 3 times just to make sure, yeah?
3 times.
3 times you say it.
And for more serious defilements, you need to immerse your entire body.
Yeah.
And so the example that we got was, for example, Smalla touching a dead body.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, we've pulled up Lady Drower's book as well, and the actual example that she's given, the person has just come back from burying someone.
Yeah. Burial service.
Like a burial service, exactly. So in this particular one, he's doing a Tmasha for the entire body.
Yeah.
Now, the catch-22 is that when you do Tmasha for the entire body, there is a butha that you need to say prior to complete immersion.
Yeah. And it's not in the water, it's just you standing up, facing north, and you say it.
Yes.
Once.
Well, interestingly, that's what we know.
Okay.
But interestingly, in this example, what Lady Drower said is that he says the first one in the water, the first butha in the water, and then also the 3 prayers of the Tmasha 3 times in the water as well. So he does the whole thing in the water.
Okay.
And obviously takes off his rasta except for his pants, and goes in and takes that with him in a bundle so that gets cleaned as well. So to go to the first one, which is Ana Milwasha مزفتا بهرة مرابة بالروبي مزفتي تناتل وتسق للريش. This one is Ana Yom Lawasha. I've baptized the baptism of Bahram the Great. Right? So I am baptized with the baptism of Bahram the Great, son of the mighty. Bahram Raba Barubi. مسوتي تناطري وتسق للريش. My baptism shall guard me. مسوتي تناطري وتسق للريش. Will ascend me to the summit. Now, resh in our language means head, but in this particular, when they say tesach resh, it doesn't mean a physical head, but it means it will take me to the head in as the top or the summit.
Yeah.
So that's the Tmasha. Now, the bu'tha that needs to be said prior to the full immersion of the body is بشميهم هي ربي أنا أذبن بحيلة وحيلي يردنا إلاوي أشري إيثي أنهث اليردنا استبى قبل دقية روشما ألوش أصلي زيوة وترش بريشي كليلة راوزي إشمت هي وإشمت مندت هي متخريلي, which means بشميهم هي ربي in the name of the great life. Now, interestingly, this is one of the parts where Lady Jara's translation is incorrect.
Okay.
So the prayer says Ana Athban Abhayla Hayli. She's taken that as I seek. So Hayla Hayli, Hayla means strength. But she's confused as to what Athban means in this context. So she's literally written I seek ? She's not sure. That's not what it means. It means I have come, or I have arrived. Ana athban bhayla wa hayli. I have come with bhayla wa hayli. Now, in this, I've heard this translated two different ways. So I'm going to give both and I'm not sure which is correct. One way I've heard it translated is Ana athban bhayla hayli. Ibhayl hayli.
Okay.
That's one way I've heard it translated. The other way I've heard it translated is Ana athban bhayla wa hayli, meaning I've come with my strength, bhayli wa bhayle, meaning hayli.
So my strength
and his strength.
Yeah.
I've heard it translated both ways and I don't know which is correct. But it means I've come with my strength and maybe his strength. But I mean I've come with all my strength.
Yeah.
Right? Yardana ilawi ushri ithi. Loose upon me the forces of the Yardana, or the running water. Release them upon me. Let them come upon me. And then I have gone down into the Yardana. I dip under and I accept the pure sign. I put on the garments of light and I place upon my head an effulgent wreath. The name of the life and the name of Mandaean, or the knowledge of life, are pronounced upon me. Now, interestingly, something that struck me as interesting about this is the translation where it says, I put on the garments of light and I place upon my head an effulgent wreath. Now, in this particular practice, you don't actually use a klila. So how she's understood it is she's assumed that effulgent wreath is a reference to the actual water itself, and not a klila. Because a klila also can be called a wreath. But in this context, she's saying it's the water itself that is the wreath and not the klila as in the baptism.
And which is correct?
I'm not sure. So she's assumed here. She's saying, I imagine that the effulgent wreath refers to water splashed over the head. Water again being regarded as synonymous with light. So that in this particular story that she's spoken about, the individual who's done it has taken the rasta with him into the water. They've said the Tmasha 3 times and they've dunked themselves under the water 3 times. So this is that is the Tmasha aspect of it. So we finally got to the bottom of what it means,
Awesome.
right? And like we said, I wanted to bring that up because I know a lot of people
Use it but don't know what it means.
exactly. And I think once you know what something means, errors aside, once you've got the general understanding of what it means, it takes on a different meaning. You
Of
have
course.
a different appreciation for it. So that is that. Now, to move on to another thing, we actually had a question come in. So we said that we'd do some research and get the
Yes.
answer up and answer it.
Yeah.
So here we go. Let me get it up. So the question was, do you mind telling the peeps what the question is while I get this?
It was, where exactly in the Ginza does it say that we can't drink and that we can't eat pork?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
We asked multiple people
yes.
to make sure, because we were confused ourselves. Because obviously, Holy Scripture being Holy Scripture, it doesn't always say to the T, but done a bit
Yeah.
of digging, and now we have a better understanding.
Yeah. So, in terms of drinking, the answer that we got is that it's in the Ginza or the Ginza Rabba, which in our language means the great treasure, El Ginza Rabba. I'm assuming this is from the right side of the Ginza because this is where this kind of stuff is normally placed.
Yeah.
You know, a Ginza has two sides, the right side and the left side.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is from the right side. Book 16, number 2, line 20, it says, do not love the desires. So actually starting from line 18, it says, do not love the desire of the world, not deceiving spectres, and do not drink, and do not become intoxicated, and do not forget thy Lord in thy heart. So that is
Plain and simple, it's
Plain and
very
simple.
clear. There you go.
now the second thing being, where does it say that we can't eat pork? So this is actually, I'm not sure if this is from the same book actually.
It's probably from a different section.
It's probably from a different section.
Yeah, yeah.
Nonetheless,
Because the whole like style changes.
yeah. So the verse says, this is also from the Ginza, but I'm not exactly sure where. It says, do not eat animals, do not eat from those which have died, nor one that was breathing its last, nor one that has fallen down, nor those which were pregnant, nor one which a wild beast has attacked. Eat the meat from animals which have emerged from the fruits of the waters. The share of the light will be allotted to the light, and the share of darkness will be allotted to the darkness. And eat no animal if the iron has not yet passed over it. Now, apparently, now we've received, how do you say, apparently that is not the most authoritative verse for why we can't eat pork. So apparently there is another verse in the Ginza that says that you can't eat any animal with hair.
Yeah.
And that means effectively that all animals, aside from sheep, are prohibited.
Yeah. Obviously, and chickens.
And what?
Chickens. Sure.
But chickens don't have hair.
That's what I'm saying. So the only
Sorry, yes. Yeah, so chicken, duck,
Yeah.
fish, and lamb.
And
Or
that's
sheep.
male lamb. Also, let's break that part prior. So it said no animal that's dying. So to break it down, if it's injured, if it's sick, if it's already
That's
on
right.
its way dying, you cannot eat it.
That's right.
And it also says no animal that's been attacked,
That's right.
because now that, first of all, that animal is traumatized. Second of all, it could be diseased from the other animal
Absolutely.
that attacked it.
Absolutely.
And then, lastly, no animal that's pregnant.
Yeah.
So we can't eat any.
So that's right. So in
female.
our faith, we're not allowed to eat animals that give life. So in our faith, you cannot kill an animal to eat if it is a female or if it is a child.
Yeah.
So even when you have lamb, it can't be a child, like a child lamb. It has to be like a fully grown one. The reason why is because we say one gives life, the female, and the other is a young life.
Yeah.
So you can't kill those animals to eat. Now, in terms of the types of animals, lamb is pretty much the only one that's allowed because lamb technically does not have hair, has wool, or صوف يصيحوا بالعربي. So that's pretty much if you follow the strict rules of the faith, you can't eat pork, you can't eat beef either.
Yeah.
Because a cow has hair.
Hashtag Buddhist. All of us are Buddhist.
Can they not eat beef?
They worship.
Buddhist? That's
Yeah.
Hindu.
The Buddhists too. They can't eat beef.
Really?
Yeah. My co-worker's Buddhist.
They can't eat beef?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Can't eat beef, bro. That's what she said. She can't eat beef. Yeah,
Interesting.
They don't eat beef. Yeah. So, and a lot of people don't actually know that they can't eat beef. You being one of them.
I found out literally half an hour ago.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
interesting.
Because, and I'll tell you why, yeah, before you look at me like that. No, but I'll tell you why. Because everyone says, everyone's fine when you bring beef. No one's got a drama. No one's got an issue. As soon as pork comes down, no.
Well, there's a reason for that. Because till this day, the pork you eat has been vaccinated and genetically modified to remove a lot of its diseases.
All animals.
No.
Yes.
No. 100% no. Pork specifically is heavily diseased. Specifically. 100%.
But all animals are vaccinated.
No. Yes. Especially now because the way farming is and everything like that. But generally speaking, most other animals are a lot cleaner. One being cows.
Yeah.
So pigs specifically, extremely dirty
Yeah.
animal.
Yeah.
And they're heavily vaccinated to get rid of those diseases.
Look, people are opposed to eating pork, but I think what I'm trying to say is what I've learned here is that it's not so much a purely religious reason. Because if it was a purely religious reason, they wouldn't eat beef either. It's more so of a social reason, of a cleanliness reason. I don't think you can deny the impact that living in such close proximity to Islam for the last 1,400 years has had on our faith either. It's undeniable. So I'm sure that also has had an effect where our Islamic neighbors in Iraq and Iran don't eat pork, and so we've taken that as a major thing from them.
Yeah.
But what I'm understanding is that the aversion to pork is more of a social thing, or more of it's that individual's own perception and own assessment of what is clean and what is not, rather than strictly adhering to the religious rules.
Most often, yes.
Yeah. So I didn't know that. I thought it was because they want to be like strictly religious. But if you want to be strictly religious, then you don't eat pork and you don't eat beef either.
Yeah.
You don't eat goat. I don't know anyone that eats goat.
Me neither.
Yeah.
The cheese, sure, I've heard. Yeah, it's amazing. The cheese, the milk.
Have you tried goat cheese?
Probably, but can't remember.
Bro, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
good.
so good, bro. I'll tell you got to get like a... No, it's a family recipe. Just get...
Yeah,
it's like that.
Insider
bro.
trading, sorry.
Look. Get toast, put some goat's cheese on it, and...
You're not even going to tell me to get khubz Iraqi? Come on, bro.
Bro, I'm trying to make it fancy. I'm trying to make it like,
Toast?
European. You're telling me khubz Iraqi.
Okay, Mr. Modern.
No, but I'm telling you, put it on some toast, it actually slaps.
Where do you get it from?
If I tell you, you're not going to believe me. Woolies.
No way.
Yeah, bro, they got that tub in oil. Suss it out, it's really good.
Okay.
Anyway,
Put a link
before we go...
we might actually... honest.
Ooh, sponsor us, bro.
Yeah.
We're fresh food people too. So I think that was an interesting discovery that I made, but I think that, I guess, to answer that question, which was about the alcohol and the pork, that's where that comes in, and
And we'll actually pop both of them on the screen.
Yes. Yeah, we'll edit that in so that they have the benefit of seeing the
And we'll also link in Lady Drawer's book.
Drawer's book, yeah.
Yep, in our bio.
I don't think we should do that.
Why not?
I have not received the book in the most legitimate of means.
Should be right. It's publicly available.
I think it's being made publicly available by illegitimate means.
So,
Let me show you.
bear with us.
That's the first page.
Okay, I will try to, if possible, we'll try to find a legitimate way of giving you guys that book, or just do a search for yourself. We'll link the actual name of it, or we'll tell you it'll pop up on the screen. Sorry, ghetto noises.
That's alright. Yeah, badly.
Yeah. We'll try to suss it
We'll
out.
try- we'll try
if
and
we
find-
can, and if,
yeah.
if it's publicly available, we'll link it.
Yeah.
And that way people actually have access to it. But for the at minimum, we're gonna have it pop up on the screen. So
Yeah.
that way, while you were reading it, it's there invisible.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I didn't want to go through the Rishame, which is the prayers and the rituals that you do prior to baptism,
Yeah.
because that's a little bit longer.
Yeah. It's heaps.
Yeah, so I didn't want to run through that. Maybe we'll do it on a future episode. But if there's anything that you guys want to know, we keep saying this over and over again, and we hope that the answers that we've been able to provide to you, like for example on this episode, are sufficient. If there are any more questions, further questions that you guys want to know, please reach out to us. We're happy to go do the research and ask the Tarmidiye,
Clergyman.
the clergyman, on behalf of you guys, fully withstanding that it is sometimes really difficult to get this information
Yeah.
in our community, but this is well known that it's always a struggle to get these kinds of answers. So bear with us if we take time, or bear with us if our answers are not 100% in terms of where we got the answer from and that kind of stuff. We're learning and we're trying just as much as you guys, so we hope that you appreciate that.
And the questions
as you
are
can see, I
awesome.
learned something today.
Yeah, the questions are awesome because it might be a question that we've never thought to ask, and then we learn something new too.
Well, that's exactly right. That's what happened here. Like, I learned something new because of it.
yeah.
So if there's anything else regarding that, we'll definitely try to get you the most exact and accurate answer that we possibly can. We do want to do a bit more religious things. As we've mentioned, something that we want to do in a future episode is where do we come from?
Yeah. Where do we come from geologically? And also the foundation of our religion, how it plays into the timeline, not just past 2,000 years timeline, but also in our books, the timeline of creation, universe, Noah, Adam, blah, blah, blah. I want to create also like a proper timeline.
Yeah.
That way you can kind of really gauge and visualize the story, because it helps so much. And like with Christianity and Islam, they've got so many movies and documentaries and whatnot, animations even. You know what I mean? We're not to that level yet. If you are an animator that's Mandaean or someone else, reach out and make us a movie. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think the big question is surrounding. I guess we can do a little bit of a preview on this episode. I think the big question is surrounding the mass exodus from Jerusalem.
Yes.
So in our books, specifically the Harangwaita,
Yeah.
which is the book where we describe our origin story and how we got to Iraq and Iran, we say that we originated in Jerusalem and that there was a mass exodus of our community from that area. Now, there's been massive pushback against this as well,
Well,
saying
heaps.
that.
Yeah.
Saying that this is just a story, this is made up, whatnot. It's symbolic. It's all that. So there's a lot of back and forth on this. So I think that's what people want to know, which is where do we come from? How did our beliefs develop? And how do we get to Iraq and Iran? And for context, the Harangwaita is also being translated by Lady Drawer, and I had a read of it, and the preamble, the introduction, she said, I just want to note this is the most difficult, most confusing, nonsensical Mandaean text to translate. She said none of it makes any sense. She goes, I've tried my best. I'm sure that I've gotten things wrong. It is the most confusing text to translate. Aside from some portions of Al-Fitra al-Shiala, but she said this is by far the most difficult Mandaean text to translate, and she said it's extremely difficult.
Why is that? The way it's written? Or?
The way it's written, the copies that she had access to, the ability to translate, so what particular things mean. She says there's things there that I've tried my best to translate, but I'm not exactly sure what they mean or what that word means.
Okay, well, let's be fair. It was the 1900s, so...
That's when she translated it. Yeah.
So...
My granddad actually remembers her. Yeah. Believe it or not.
What do you mean remembers her?
Remembers her. I was talking to my granddad. I'm like, oh yeah, Lady Ruaha. He goes, yeah, أتذكرها.
Like he's heard of her?
No. That's what I said. I'm like, شنو تتذكرها? He's like, أتذكرها. I go, يعني شلون؟ He goes, بطفولتي. He goes, كانت تجينا بالعمارة. He goes, عمري كنت يعني في 5 سنين 6 سنين. He was 5 or 6, which maps out because my grandfather was born in 1931, and she came in the mid to late 30s to Iraq. And it's interesting, funny story.
But most of this was done in the
I
1890s, was it not?
No.
No?
In the early 1900s.
That's not 1900s, that's 20th century.
The 20th century is the 1900s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So she used to get the kids to help her carry her bags.
Yeah.
Because when she used to come, she used to stay for like months. And so he goes, I remember we used to help her carry her bags, and she used to give us, like, as a thank you, like biscuits, toffee, chocolate. He goes, احنا ما نعرف شنو هو.
Bro, that's incredible.
He goes, احنا كنا ناخذ التوفي نرجع للبيت امهاتنا يقولون يما هذا شنو هذا تمر. Or then he goes, we take biscuits. يقولون يما هذا شنو هذا من وين جبتوه. They don't know what it is. They've never seen toffee, they've never seen biscuits, they don't know, they've never seen that before in their life.
So, is it possible that your granddad's dad, like, she interviewed them as well and spoke to them?
My grandfather's father, my great-grandfather, passed away when my grandfather was 4 years old, I believe.
4?
4 years old, yeah. So my grandfather never really knew him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my grandfather's older brothers are the ones that raised him. Yeah.
So that's crazy, actually.
Yeah, so, but he remembers her.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so, fun fact, life works in weird ways in terms of the timeline. So I think in terms of the religious stuff in our community, we'll try our best.
Yeah.
If there's any improvements that you can suggest, reach out to us. Don't have little whisper sessions behind our backs. It's not very mundane of you.
Yeah, it's very mundane of you.
In one sense, in a community and social sense, it's very mundane of you. In a religious sense, it's not very mundane of you. So, like we said in the last episode, be the change that you want to see in our community.
That's true. That's very true.
Anything else before we wrap it up?
I think that was a pretty decent couple. We've gone over 2 prayers, and we'll do more in the future.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah, happy days.
Sounds good.
All right, till next time.
Till next time. So we're back.
Yeah, second time.
Encore.
Uncle.
Oh.
Okay, so basically, what we said was sort of kind of right.
And sort of kind of wrong.
Yes.
So we're 50-50.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I was right to be confused.
That's all right. No one's
confused.
having a go at you.
No. But like you jumbled me up, and I thought, bruh, what a shit.
Oh.
I don't know. I've been doing it wrong the whole time.
So to get to the bottom of the story, right?
To iron this out.
We consulted some further sources.
Yes.
Right. The first one where you say أنا أذبان بحيلة وحيلي يردن إلى ويشريثي. This is known as in our faith التخريصة.
Yeah.
Which you say before you enter the river.
Yeah. Basically, it's permission to enter the river.
Effectively.
Yeah. You're asking
And
permission.
then the Tmasha is أنا يوم الواشة مزغتة بحر أمرابة بالروبي. That's the Tmasha. Now, we've come upon some knowledge, which is that not all people and not all families say the takhrisa before they get in the shower.
Yeah.
The argument being, the Butha specifically references El Yardana, and when you get in the shower, there's no Yardana.
Yeah.
The running water in the shower is not a substitute for the Yardana.
No.
However, I do know people that say it also before they get in the shower.
Yeah.
So this, it seems like, is a
Family to family type.
family to family thing. It's a difference of opinion. So in effect, the two are not connected with one another. So you say that the Tmasha when you want to be ritually clean, and you say the Takhrisa when you want to enter the water. Now, another fact that we've come across is that some people, when they touch Lahm Nazil, so meat that hasn't been killed the Mandaean way, they don't just wash their hands with the Tmasha, they do their whole body.
Full body. And apparently it's not just touch, it's also smell or see.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a bit full on.
Yeah,
We'll
extremely.
walk through a food court and
Yeah, bro, you don't just get hungry, you get impure.
yeah.
So we just wanted to come out and clarify all of that so that we know that we've got everything 100% right. So we decided to make this clip and add it on at the end,
Yeah.
just to make sure that everything is completely clarified.
So I guess it's two versions done by
This comes to an interpretation thing,
yeah.
yeah? Where do you take Yardana to mean river, or do you take Yardana to mean flowing water?
Yeah.
And this debate is not new in our community. This has been going on for a long time. So it's, I guess, a difference of interpretation in that. And also in terms of that Tmash Idek, or you do your whole body, I guess that's also a difference of interpretation as well. So I guess we just wanted to come on camera and tell everyone what everybody does, the difference of opinion. That way everybody has all the facts, they can draw the conclusion for themselves.
You do you. If you want to do the long version, the short version, or some people call it the right version and the wrong version.
Look,
You do you.
at the end of the day, as long as you are following your faith, you're being a good person, my personal belief is that these little small differences and details don't matter. Because by being a person of faith, following your faith, following your calling, remembering Hay's name in what you do, you are already better than, you're doing more than, not better than, no one's better than anyone else, but you're doing more than 90% of the population out there, be that Mandaean or non-Mandaean.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot to be proud of. Don't get caught up on the little details. The main objective is to focus on your faith.
And not
Use it-
technicalities.
not technicalities. Use your faith as a general guidelines of how to live your life in a manner that is pure, clean, and virtuous. The rest will sort itself out.
Done deal.
Leave it there.
Yes.
Until next time.